back to Elysian. I'm trying to make this video a couple times out this morning. I'm having difficulties. I'm running on only a few hours of sleep here. I didn't get much sleep last night, and then I woke up this morning around 4 to lightning crashing all around me up in the woods. But anyways, interesting morning. But I wanted to get this video out, and I feel it's extremely important. Especially with the current events and how things are so lined up to get out of here. I totally think that we're going home this year. I've really been fighting it, not because I didn't think that we already were going home, but ever since I got that confirmation that it was this year, I've been attacked left and right by everything and all the doubting possible. But all the proofs just keep coming in that it is, and also a new confirmation that my little brother is going to let me share. That's pretty cool. And anyways, but I texted my little brother last night, and I was like, hey, you want to hear something interesting? I'm like, there's an interesting chance that the rapture might actually be this weekend. And I was like, the reasons why are kind of funny, but I'm like, the whole thing going on with the elections and stuff like that, I find it very, very interesting. And for those that don't know, the Enoch prophecy from the book of Enoch, it's not something that I totally have listened to or anything like that, but I mean, I know about it, that there'd be 70 leaders and then that would be the end, and it just happens this week to be the change of position of power over there in Israel from Netanyahu to Bennett and their new little coalition that they have. And I find the whole timing of it interesting. Even if it wasn't going to be real, you have to give it definitely a good look over. And I seriously am, and I think that there's a huge possibility that it's completely real. And the timing of it just couldn't be more noticeable. Just this week, changing of power, and it just happens to be the same week that we're getting into the last day of summer, the last day of spring, coming here on the 20th, and they just happen to change out. And whether all of them are counted, because I believe 7 of the good kings weren't counted, and it's only the bad leaders, the 70 rulers that are bad, that are counted towards it. So we don't know if all of them are counted up to now. Netanyahu might have not been the last one. This new one might be started at it, but the whole changing of it to this time right now that we're at, it's just too interesting. In the 73rd year, right? And that really makes you take notice, especially with the Malachi prophecy and all those other things that have happened. And I mean, you never know how long somebody's going to be a prime minister or anything like that. So for it to line up exactly with 70 at the same time in the 73rd year, along with all the players that need to be in play for this to happen and confirmations that it's this year, it can't help but be noticed. So I texted my brother and I was like, it's very interesting. I'm like, not only is this week the last week of spring and everything, but I'm like, also the Orthodox Pentecost just happens to be this weekend too. And, it's something that I wasn't paying attention to. And when we passed Pentecost, I was like, I guess it won't be on Pentecost, because that's been one of the highest timelines that I've looked at for the rapture to take place. And the Orthodox Pentecost uses the Julian calendar from Julius Caesar, which actually started in 46 BC, and I was looking it up, and that would have been right before Jesus was born. So they would have been using that calendar, and it'd be very interesting if that was the calendar that he was going off of, and it would actually fulfill Pentecost. And a lot of Christians celebrate it because it has to do with Holy Spirit coming down in the church age starting and everything like that. And it wouldn't have been May 23rd, but it would be June 20th coming up. I find it very interesting that that's lining up. And it also just happens this year. Last year was on the 8th. Next year it's like on the 13th or whatever. It just happens to be the last day of spring. And it also happens to be Father's Day. Is there a little jab of humor in there that God would take us home on worldwide national recognition of Father's Day? very, very interesting. And, I told my little brother, I was like, hey, man, like, wouldn't that be interesting? And I'm like, man, I'm like, if it's going to be in summer, that's one thing, but I'm like, if it is going to fulfill any sort of hint that it's in spring, kind of like Solomon or anything like that, this would be the week for it to happen. So I texted him that, and I'm like, I don't want you getting too excited or anything like that. But I'm like, I got a good feeling about this. So after I texted him, he was thinking about it a little bit, and he had to go drop off his daughter with the ex, and he was coming back up the canyon. Well, after I told him about my situation, obviously I shared it with my confirmation I got back on the 13th last month. You guys know the story. I asked if it was this year, and I was told that it was, and it blew me out of the water because I never thought that I would hear what year it was. Just soon, almost time, or it's now, or something like that. Not that it was actually this year that it's going to happen. And the attacks just came on like right after that, non-stop, just absolutely brutal. It's been very difficult, and it's been a lot of weight ever since I first said it, but I've talked to myself about it over and over again. I'm like, it's 1 in a trillion what I got. It's exactly what I asked for, and so I told my brother, I was like, listen, man, I don't know what's up, but God is handing out confirmations like candy this year. And I'm like, anybody can get one if they want it. Just go ahead and ask. So I was like, bro, I'm like, don't just take my word for it. I already told everybody, ask and pray about it. And I was like, go ahead, man. Ask for something. So my little brother's like, okay. Well, I'm like, okay, do it, dude. And I was trying to like give him some oomph to do it. So anyways, he told me last night that he did. He said that, all right. He said, all right, God, I'm going to ask for a confirmation. And then he goes, I don't really need one. I know you're coming back soon or anything like that. But if you want to give me one, I mean, it'll be okay. And he goes, all right, let's see. What can I find? He's like, all right, I want to find an arrowhead, but it can't just be any arrowhead. My little brother lives in that canyon up on top of the mountain. From my first heaven video that I did, and he lives up there. He's got like 40 acres or whatever, and he said the whole time that he's lived there, he's only found like a shard or whatever from like a possible arrowhead or whatever, and it was like a black one. But he told God, he's like, okay, I want to find an arrowhead, but it can't just be an arrowhead. It's got to be really, really good and defined arrowhead. And he's like, but it can't be black either. I want it to be red. And he's like, and not just that, he's like, and make the butt end of it broken off. And he's like, okay, and he's like, that's what I want. And he's like, show me that, and that'll be my confirmation that the rapture's this year, right? So my brother's been thinking about it for the last month, right? Since I first told him about what happened and everything, and he's been looking around for anything, let's see if he can find anything, and while he's been on the property shooting his bow and arrow and stuff like that, and hasn't seen anything at all. Well, last night, after I texted him, he was driving up to Kenny, he was just thinking about all that stuff, and he's been in a bum movement, been attacked left and right by the forces of darkness too, temptations and everything else that many other people are dealing with right now. It's because it's the proximity, the forces of darkness know that we're right there at the end. And as he was driving up the canyon, God told him in his spirit, what you're looking for is over there. And it wasn't over on his property, it was over on the neighbors. And we're talking thousands of acres up there. And, it could be anywhere. And so my little brother gets home, and he's like, okay, yeah, sure, all right, right. And he gets home and he's looking out the window after he gets done with dinner or whatever. And as he does, he's thinking about what he was told, and he's like, you know what, that's it, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to look around. So he goes down over by the neighbor's place where he can walk around and stuff like that, and he starts walking around. He's like, man, I'm never going to find an arrowhead. And it's like, not to mention all the dirt out here looks red. So he's like, that would match up with the red arrowhead. And he's thinking about the whole thing, like, why did I even say a red arrowhead? He's like, I've never even seen a red arrowhead in the first place. He's like, and it's like, why was I even thinking of that when I said that? And so he starts looking around, he doesn't see anything, and he goes down in this water ditch where it's been drained or whatever in this field, and he's kind of walking around, and He's like, yeah, maybe something's in here. And he walks down towards the end and he still hasn't found anything. He's just about to give up. Be like, I'm just hearing things, kind of like what was happening with me. And when I was talking to God, and I was like, I'm going to need a confirmation for this. Well, right when he starts to walk out, he looks over to the left and he sees what looks like a bright red glowing piece of plastic. He goes, that's weird. He's like, man, that's a bright piece of little red plastic there. And he's like, he goes over to bend down and grab it. And he's like, wouldn't that be crazy if this was actually an arrowhead? And as he picks it up, just like with that heart rock, almost like a three-dimensional slam in the back of the head where, fantasy becomes reality instantly and you're hit smack with it. He finds a red arrowhead, but not just any red arrowhead, exactly what he had asked for, with the butt end of it broken off. And he's totally blown away and shocked. He's like, oh my gosh, the rapture really is this year. We're talking thousands and thousands of acres in an area where there might not even be an arrowhead or anything like that. And not only was he, not only did he get what he asked for, he was also brought in and told where to look. And just like before, you get your multiplier and you get your isolator. Just like when I asked for it behind the rock. On the whole beach, I don't even know if there was any pieces of glass, let alone a little piece of glass. And I asked behind the one rock. So now you get your multiplier. Out of all the places where I'm looking for a heart rock, it's got to be behind this rock. That starts to add the difficulty in the numbers of if you're going to get that possibility or not. And then it only gets amplified even more when the possibilities become even more difficult and you start to get your astronomical numbers. So I go back there and I see the 1-inch piece of glass. I'm like, oh God, if you're really talking to me, you could have just told me there's a 1-inch piece of glass back here. So I go down and skip the rock like I told you. I'm like, no, I want another crack at it. So I go back up there heading straight for that piece of glass, getting it all PO'd. Now you get your isolator. I'm going in for the piece of glass. My location is targeted. Underneath the piece of glass is the heart rock that's anatomically correct to an actual like human heart. I'm blown away, right? Same thing with my brother. Driving up the canyon, he's been looking around for a month off and on, hasn't seen anything. He gets his multiplier, all right, asking for a red one that he's never even seen before. And the difficulty becomes the hundreds of acres where you don't know where to look or anything like that. And as he's driving up, God says, what you're looking for is over there. Now you get your isolator. And he goes out and he gets it. And he's just absolutely blown away. He calls me up last night as I'm walking back from the lake, and he's like, I got my confirmation. He's like, I can't believe it. He's like, this is exactly what I asked for. I'm totally blown away, It's like, the rapture really it really is happening this year. And I was like, man, that's what I'm saying, dude. I'm like, good job for asking. I was like, I've told you, man, he's handing out confirmations left and right. I've never seen anything like it before. The rapture is absolutely happening this year. And it could be way sooner than anyone thinks. And it would be so interesting if it just happened to line up with everything at the end of this week. And I'm not saying that it is or anything like that, but oh man, there's a number of co-aligning events that just really make it look good, especially if it does happen in spring and everything like that. But super encouraging. It's another confirmation, like I say. And I mean, these are like 1 in a trillion situation. I mean, when you're out in an area, and you don't even know if there's any. I've never even found an arrowhead in my entire life, by the way, So, I mean, it's not like something that just happens or anything like that, especially when you don't know where to go. And he got exactly what he was looking for. And he's like, I don't even know why I asked that. Same thing with me, like I told you with the heart rock. A heart rock isn't something I asked for, but God knows where something's at and exactly the right spot for it, and he can put that into your mind to ask for it in the first place, because he knows every inch of the planet. It's pretty amazing. So very cool. And I asked my little brother, and he's like, "Yeah, definitely, sure." He's like, "I'm gonna turn this thing into a necklace and wear it wherever I go and tell everybody." And I was like, "That's awesome, man. That's totally awesome. Thanks for telling me." But the rapture's happening this year, and it's without a shadow of a doubt, and everything is in place for it. I just cannot believe how it just keeps lining up more and more in every single possible scenario. And we're so close for war and everything else. It's just unbelievable. And it's blowing my mind, but super super amazing. So I wanted to get this out, a message of encouragement here, and I'm already jacked about it, and I know that it's coming soon, but it very well may be coming even sooner than we think here. And get ready, because your redemption is literally at hand, and the dream is about to become the reality, and there's nothing like it ever. It's amazing. Everything that I experienced in it was the most incredible experience of my entire life, and I've done some pretty neat things, and it blows everything out of the water. It's the most incredible experience that I've ever had, ever, and we're right there. So hang in there. It's just a little bit longer. It's really happening. I've told you guys all before, don't be afraid to ask for your own confirmations. Everybody has a relationship with God. That's what I've been telling you the whole time. Build it, and ask him yourself. Pray about it and everything else, but be encouraged, because we're going home this year. It's actually happening, and there's just one confirmation after another, and it's not something just like random or small. These are like one in a trillion situations, and they're happening, that people are getting. So be encouraged. This is actually happening, and let the naysayers say whatever they want. If they want to stay behind, that's their business. We've warned everybody that we possibly can, and be a good cheer, because we're out of here. It's really about to happen. So anyways, just wanted to share that, and I'll catch you next time in the leash, or I'll see you in the air. I have a feeling I might just see you in the air. God bless. Bye.